A beautiful morning out there from the studios of iPower 102.7 FM, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers, a newspaper review program where we bring to you stories and headlines in and outside Nigeria from across different newspapers. I am Florence Ibarema, and with me on today's edition is
ABDULRASAQ. Good morning, friends.
Good morning. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, and I'll be taking up stories from This Day newspaper, the Cable newspaper, the Punch newspaper. Also,
we have the Hope newspaper, we have the Daily Post newspaper, and the Punch newspaper as well.
Okay, and before we dive straight to the headlines for today, we'll go on a short musical comeback and we'll give you the headlines for today's stories. Glad to know you're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers. And with me on today's headline, we have a story from the Hope newspaper, which says,
we have a story coming from the Hope newspaper, which says, probes superb job reckoning, ex-Ondo lawmaker says that.
Also, we have stories from
Still, another story coming from the Hope newspaper as well. We have 10 Univen students and global recognition.
Okay, I have a story from the Punch newspaper which says 7 victims confirmed killed in Lagos building fire.
Let me move straight away to the Punch newspaper where we have cash transfer. Federal government pay 300 billion to 8.1 million households.
And on the Hope newspaper, I have Supreme Court affirms that you are as Ondo governor.
Still coming from the Punch newspaper, we have 1,000 protests in London over Trump UK visits.
Okay, I still have a story from the Hope newspaper which says INEC warns Nigerians against fake recruitment.
Another story coming from the Daily Post newspaper where we have over 650 kidneys worth 41 billion trafficked in Nigerian medical expert says that.
And still on the Hope newspaper where I have NECO releases 2025 SSCE result record 60% pass rate.
Still another story coming from NECO as well from the Punch newspaper. We have NECO probes mass cheating in 13 states.
Okay, away from that and straight to the Punch newspaper where I have emergency rules. Winner loses as Tinubu reinstate Fubara.
Similarly from the Daily Post newspaper on river emergency rule, Atiku Adeyanju order tackle Tinubu Wike after Fubara reinstatement.
Okay, and still on the Punch newspaper where I have federal government returns history to basic school curriculum.
Still from the Hope newspaper, we have 10 Unimed students and global recognition.
Okay, and still on the Punch, still on This Day newspaper where we have 22.225 trillion to federal government, state and local government as federal government accounts gross 3.635 trillion naira.
Away from that to the Daily Post newspaper where I have no investor will risk money where government functionary dictates court ruling says Goodluck Jonathan.
And straight to Daily Post where I have Soludo rejects Ekwonifa's apology.
Still from the Daily Post newspaper, we have a news coming. We have a massive tsunami awaits those trying to remove Tinubu, says Fani Kayode.
Okay, and straight to the cable newspaper where I have court restrains Nupeng from going on strike, disrupting Dangote refineries operations.
And with that, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of this story and more. And welcome back. You are still on to In the Papers, a newspaper radio program on iPower 102.7 FM, Emoreile Owo, Ondo State. Starting from our story coming from the Hope newspaper, where I have Prof. Superb Job Reckoning, ex-Ondo lawmaker urges assembly. Now to the detail of the story. A former member of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Simeon Toluwani Borokini, who represented Akure South Constituency 1 and chaired the House Committee on Education, has called on the State Assembly to launch a full-scale investigation into the recent job racketing scandal at the Ondo State Universal Basic Education Board, SUPEB. Borokoni described the incident, which saw several individuals protesting over fake appointment letters, as an embarrassment to the government and the people of Ondo State. He said the unfortunate development undermined public trust in institutions, inflict unnecessary hardship and frustration on job seekers, and cast doubt on the credibility of recruitment process in the state. The former lawmaker, however, commended the swift response of the state governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, praising his prompt action to ensure that matters was not swept under the carpet. For more information on the story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline, Pro Superb Job Racketeering, Ondo S Lawmaker urges Assembly.
Okay, and still on the Hope newspaper where I have Supreme Court affirms Ayedatiwa as Ondo governor. Now the details. The Supreme Court on Wednesday affirmed the victory of Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa as the duly elected governor of Ondo State in the November 16, 2024 gubernatorial election. The judgment of the Apex Court has put an end to the long-drawn legal battle over the governorship elections. As before the verdict, Honorable Agbola Ajayi, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) governorship candidate in the election, formally withdrew his petition. The five-member panel, led by Justice Inyang Okoro, also dismissed the appeal filed by the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party (SDP) Bamidele Akinboye and the Allied People Movement candidate Ogunfeyemi Kolawole. Counsel for the Akingboye and the SDP informed the court of the intention to withdraw their appeal following the death of the appellant. Counsel for the respondent did not object to the withdrawal. The opposition party had earlier approached the tribunal of the Court of Appeal sitting in Akure, the state capital, to challenge Ayedatiwa's election. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), while declaring Ayedatiwa as winner of the poll, disclosed that he won in all 18 local government areas of the state. For details of this story, see the Hope newspaper with the headline, Supreme Court affirms Ayedatiwa as Ondo governor.
Still on the Hope newspaper as well, we have 10 UNIMED students earn global recognition. Now to the story. 10 students of University of Medical Science, UNIMED Ondo, have earned global recognition after being selected for the Millennium Fellowship class of 2025 by the United Nations Academic Impact (UNAI) and the Millennium Campus Network MCN. The Millennium Fellowship is among the most competitive student leadership program worldwide, with an acceptance rate of less than 7%. Each year, it brings together outstanding undergraduates from over 100 nations for a transformative leadership journey running from August to December. Speaking, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ebonluwa Adejuyigbe, expressed delight over the development and urged the students to continue striving for excellence. She said, and I quote, "I am delighted at this development. This is indeed gladdening. It is exactly the direction we want to go. I want to see our students not just shining nationally, but also becoming global relevant. I congratulate the new fellow students and encourage them not to rest on their oars." For more information on the story, check the Hope newspaper with the headline 10 university students earn global recognition.
Okay, still on the newspaper where I have INEC warns Nigerians against fake recruitment. Now the details. In a statement posted on its official X handle on Wednesday, the electoral body dismissed the circulating notice which falsely claimed that INEC is currently recruiting for various positions. The fraudulent advert directs applicants to a fake website, inecrecruitment.com, to submit their personal details. It says, "Our attention has been drawn to the fake advertising currently circulating on social media, giving the impression that the Independent National Electoral Commission is recruiting for various positions. The impostor behind this illicit recruitment exercise also asks would-be respondents to log on to an equal fake portal, inec.com, to complete the application, but INEC does not have any such portal," the statement read. INEC made it clear that it is not conducting any recruitment exercise at the moment, urging the public to not fall prey to the scam. The Commission hereby calls on the public to disregard this fraudulent call for applications. The Commission is not recruiting. Do not fall for the antics of criminal elements, the statement continued. For details of the story, City Hope newspaper with the headlines, INEC warns Nigerians against fake recruitment.
Away from that, reading from the Daily Post newspaper, where I have over 650 kidneys worth $41 billion trafficked in Nigeria, says medical experts. Now to the story. A professor of medical arts medicine at Bayero University Kano, BUK, and consultant neurologist at Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, Professor Aliyu Abdul, has revealed that at least 651 kidneys valued at more than $41 billion were trafficked and transplanted illegally in Nigeria between 2015 and 2020. He said the development formed part of the global black market in which 10,000 kidneys were sold every year. Speaking at a seminar on national organ and tissue transplantation standard in Abuja, Professor Abdul warned that organ trafficking is thriving in Nigeria due to weak regulation, although the National Health Act of 2014 prohibits the sales of human organs and requires donor consent. He said enforcement remained weak, leaving poor citizens vulnerable to exploitation. He said, and I quote, "Victims are mostly impoverished people who are easily influenced by financial incentives and ignorant of the possible risk involved." He explained and lamenting that many donors are abandoned without proper care after surgery, often left battling depression and disease. For more information on the story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, "Over 650 kidneys worth $41 billion trafficked in Nigeria," says medical expert.
And still on the Hope newspaper from my end, I have NECO releases 2025 SSCE results, record 60% pass rate. The National Examination Council has released a 2025 Senior School Certificate Examination SSCE internal result 54 days after last written paper. NECO Registrar Professor Ibrahim Wusisi, who announced the results who released the results at the press conference in Minna, Niger State on Wednesday, said out of the 1,358,339 candidates who sat for the June-July exercise, 818,492, representing 60.26%, score 5 credits and above, including mathematics and English. Wusisi stated that the number of candidates with 5 credits and above in mathematics and English is 1,144,496, representing 84.26%. He said number of candidates registered for the examination is 1,367,210, which represents 685,514 male and 681,696 female. For details of the story, see the Hope newspaper with the headline NECO releases 2025 SSC result, record 60% pass rate.
Still talking about NECO coming from the Punch newspaper, I have NECO probes mass cheating in 13 states. Now to the story. The National Examination Council has launched investigation into mass cheating involving 38 schools across 13 states during the conduct of the 2025 Senior School Certificate Examination. Registrar of the Council, Professor Ibrahim Wusisi, disclosed this in Minna, Niger State on Wednesday while releasing the 2025 result. He said the affected schools will be summoned onto the Council for discussion before appropriate sanctions are applied. According to him, the mass cheating cases from part of wider 3,878 instances of malpractice recorded in this year's examination. He, however, noted the case of malpractice reduced this year compared to the last, with 10,094 cases in 2024. He said, and I quote, during the conduct of the 2025 Senior School Certificate Examination, 38 schools were found to have been involved in the whole school mass cheating in 13 states. They will be invited to the Council for discussion, after which appropriate sanction will be applied. Similarly, 9 supervisors, 3 in River State, 1 in Niger, 3 in FCT, 1 in Kano, and 1 in Osun State, were recommended for blacklisting due to poor supervising, aiding and abetting lateness, unruly behavior, assault, and insubordination. For more information, check the Punch newspaper with the headline NECO probes mass cheating in 13 states.
You're still listening to iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is in the papers. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the rest of the stories. Glad to have you back. You're still listening to In the Papers on iPower 102.7 FM. And straight to the Punch newspaper, where I have emergency rule. Winners, losers, as Tinubu reinstates Fubara. Similarly, Fubara will today resume duty as the governor of Rivers State following the end of the 6-month emergency rule imposed on the state by President Bola Tinubu. The president on Wednesday announced an end to the emergency rule he declared in Rivers State on March 18, 2025. In a statement on the cessation of the emergency rule made available by the presidency, the president said the governor, His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, the deputy governor, Her Excellency Ngozi Odu, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly and the Speaker Martins Amewele will resume work in their offices from September 18, 2025. It therefore gives me a great pleasure to declare that the emergency in Rivers State of Nigeria shall end with effect from midnight today, he added. This is undoubtedly a welcome development for me and a very remarkable achievement for us. I therefore do not see why the state of emergency should exist a day longer than the 6 months I had pronounced at the beginning of it, says the presidency. For details of the story, see the Punch newspaper with the headline Emergency Rule Winners Losers as Tinubu reinstate Fubara.
Still talking about river emergency rules from the Daily Post newspaper now. We have Atiku Adeyanju order tackle Tinubu Wike after Fubara's reinstatement. Now to the story. We have the reinstatement of Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu has elicited divergent reaction from some political players and right activists. On March 18, 2025, Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, during which Fubara, the deputy governor, and all members of the State House of Assembly were suspended. President Tinubu also appointed sole administrator Ibok Ibas to preside over the state during the duration of the suspension. Now, we have a reaction from Atiku. Atiku decimating democracy, nothing to share. Expressing displeasure, Atiku media aide Paul Ibe described Tinubu's action as illegal and unconstitutional because the president lacked the power to suspend a democratically elected governor. Speaking with Daily Post, IB said Tinubu's administration was using state institutions to decimate the opposition and coerce them into the All Progressive Congress (APC). Now we have reaction from a lawyer on his part, human rights lawyer Aiden said Fubara has been discriminated with his suspension and restatement by the president. Frowning at president action, the activist lawyer said Tinubu had not addressed the situation that led to Fubara's suspension. Speaking also with Daily Post, the lawyer said Tinubu action had shown dictatorship and not democracy. He said, and I quote, "The arched job has been done. The detention of Mr. President and his surrogate has been accomplished. So the idea of restating Fubara is something that has become a necessity for them." Also, we have the right activist lawyer. We have said further, insists that Fubara, with his suspension and restatement without contesting, is legally, he has become a puppet to the power that be. We have another person talking about the issue where frontline human rights activist Deji Adeyanju accused Tinubu of setting an evil precedent and dragging Nigerians back to the military era by suspending and reinstating Fubara. He said, and I quote, "It is sad, precedent of our democracy. The president has dragged us back to the era of military regime. One would have thought that Nigerian democracy has indeed matured and we have moved away from military men." For more information on the story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline River Emergency Rule. Atiku Adeyanju orders tackle Tinubu Wike after Fubara's reinstatement.
And still on the Punch newspaper from my hand, where I have federal government returns history to basic school curriculum. Now the details. The federal government has reintroduced Nigerian history as a compulsory subject in the basic education curriculum to strengthen national identity, unity, patriotism, and responsible citizenship. The Federal Ministry of Education announced the introduction in a statement on its official X account on Wednesday. For the first time in decades, Nigerian pupils will study history continuously from primary 1 to JSS 3, while SS1 to SS3 students will take the new civic and heritage studies integrated history with civic education, the statement reads. Primary 1 to 6 pupils will learn about Nigerians' origin, heroes, rulers, culture, politics, economy, religion, colonial rule, and post-independent governance, while JSS 1 students to 3 will study civilization, empires, trade, European contracts, amalgamation, independence, democracy, and civic value. According to the Ministry of Education, this reform is a priceless gift to the nation, reconnecting children to their roots while inspiring pride, unity, and commitment to national development. For details of the story, see the Punch newspaper with the headline Federal Government Returns History to Basic School Curriculum.
And for your reaction on the stories, for your own opinion, your perspective about the story read so far, you can call us by calling us on this number 081 6552 4699. 081 6552 4699. Moving on with a story coming from the Punch newspaper where I have cash transfer. Federal government pays 330 billion naira to 81 million household. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of these and more. You are still on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. You can connect with us by sharing your perspective, your opinion about the topic, the headline read so far on 081 6552 4699. 081 6552 4699. Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper, we have a cash transfer. Federal government pays 330 billion naira to 88.1 million households. Now to the detail of the story. The federal government has announced that it has disbursed a total of 330 billion naira to 8.1 million households across the country under the National Social Safety Net program aimed at cushioning the harsh effects of economic reform on Nigeria's poorest and most vulnerable citizens. The disclosure was made on Wednesday in Abuja by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Wale Edun, after a review meeting of the Special President Panel on Social Investment inaugurated by President Bola Tinubu in February. Edun explained that the program, which experienced delay earlier in the year, was now firmly back on track following the successful integration of biometric data through the National Identification Number. The integration, he said, was crucial to ensure transparency, curbing leakages, and eliminating political influence. According to the minister, out of 19.7 million households captured in the National Social Register, representing about 70 million Nigerians, 8.1 million households have already received at least one threshold of 25,000 stipend. Some beneficiaries have received 2 or 3 payments depending on verification outcome. He, however, noted that an additional 2.2 million households were paid in the last cycle after their bank verification number and NIN were successfully validated. Edun attributed earlier delays to the lag in NIN enrollment, but stressed that all outstanding payments would be concluded before the end of 2025. For more information on the story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline Cash Transfer. Federal government pay 330 billion naira to 8.1 million households.
And still reading from the Punch newspaper, where I have 7 victims confirmed killed in Lagos building fire. Now the details. 7 victims have been confirmed dead following the fire incident in Afriland Tower in the Lagos Island area of Lagos State on Tuesday. The victims were said to have died in hospitals across the state where they have been rushed to after being evacuated from the high-rise building. Punch Metro gathered that doctors are battling to save the lives of the remaining victims in the hospital. The incident was one of two separate fire incidents that rocked the Lagos Island Businesses District on Tuesday, which left several others injured and goods worth millions of naira destroyed. While the first fire started at the Afriland Tower in Marina, the second gutted Madala's Market and adjoining plaza along Taiwo Street. According to multiple videos shared on social media and seen by Punch Metro, individuals were seen attempting to jump from the Afriland Tower story building, while others were rescued with the aid of ladder by residents and by passerby. During the process, some individuals sustained varying degrees of injury before the arrival of firefighters. For details of the story, see the Punch newspaper with the headline 7 victims confirmed killed in Lagos building fire.
Still on the Afriland Tower fire incident, another breaking news coming from there as well. We have 6 more deaths confirmed in Afriland Tower fire. Now to the detail of the story. At least 6 additional deaths have been confirmed following the fire outbreak at Afriland Tower, a 6-story commercial building on Broad Street, Lagos Island, Lagos State. The victims were employees of United Capital, a financial and investment service firm occupying the 3rd and the 4th floor of the tower. The confirmation comes just hours after the Federal Inland Revenue Service announced that 4 of its staff members also died in the incident. For more information on the story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline Breaking News: 6 more deaths confirmed in Afriland Tower fire.
Okay, away from the Punch and straight to the cable newspaper, where I have court restrains Nopeng from going on strike, disrupting Dangote refineries operations. Now the details. The National Industrial Court has granted an interim injunction restraining the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Gas Workers (NUPENG) from blocking Nigerian road or frustrating and shutting down the operation of Dangote Refinery, Miss Oil Nigeria Limited, and Miss Oil and Gas Company Limited. The court also restrained NUPENG and other drivers association from embarking on an industrial action or compelling other truck drivers to join in its industrial action. Emmanuel Sublim, the presiding judge, delivered the ruling on Wednesday following the ex parte motion filed by Judge Ibrahim, the refinery's lawyer. Granting the ex parte, the judge said irreparable damage may be caused to Dangote Refinery if the necessary order were not granted. Ibrahim approached the court with an ex parte motion filed alongside the originating processes and the motion on notice dated and filed September 15. The lawyer prayed the court to direct Nopeng and its members to continue petroleum token services to the refinery, Miss and the Nigerian public pending the determination of the motion on notice. For details of this story, see the cable newspaper with the headline Court Restrains Nupeng on Going on Strike, disrupting Dangote's refineries operations.
And if you are just joining, you are on to In the Papers, a newspaper review program on iPower 2.7 FM in Murele, Owo, Ondo State. Still reading news from the Daily Post newspaper. We have no investor will risk money where government functionary dictates court ruling, says Goodluck Jonathan. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll give you details of this and more.
Glad to know you're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is in the papers. To reach us with your comments and reactions on the stories read so far, you can call us on the studio line 0816 552 4699. 0816 552 4699. And still reading stories from the Nation newspaper, where I have federal government moves to protect schools, children from bandits conflict in Jigawa. Now the details. The federal government has commenced a 3-day training on safe school response coordination for security personnel in Jigawa State as part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to secure schools in the north and across the country. Speaking in Duse, the head of training at the National Safe School Response Coordination Center of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Assistant Commandant Joseph A. Shuaibu, said the exercise was to enhance the capacity of security personnel to guarantee safe learning environments. According to him, the training will equip coordinators and desk officers with modern skills, technologies, and collaborative strategies to tackle growing threats of banditry and conflict threatening the school. He explained the program, supported by development partners, also involved officers from sister security agencies and ensure coordinated responses. For details of the story, see the Nation's newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Moves to Protect Schools, Children from Bandits Conflict in Jigawa.
And away from that to the Daily Post newspaper, where we have no investor will risk money, where government functionary dictate court ruling, says Goodluck Jonathan. Now to the story. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has warned that no investor will commit funds to an economy where judiciary is compromised and subject to political control. Jonathan made the remark on Wednesday after the democracy dialogue of the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation in Accra, Ghana. He stressed that judicial independence is crucial to build a stable and trustworthy business environment. He said, and I quote, "It affects everybody. For example, no businessman can bring his money to invest in a country where the judiciary is compromised, where a government functionary can dictate to judge what judgment they will give. No man bring his money to invest in that economy because they are taking a big risk." Jonathan added that for Nigeria to secure its future, leaders must uphold justice and fairness irrespective of personal or political interest. For more information on this story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, "No investor will risk money where government functionary dictates court ruling," says Goodluck Jonathan.
And away from that, to the Daily Trust newspaper, where I have Youth mobilizes Yobe residents for PVC. Following the directive of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on the commencement of voters registration, a community development initiative in Yobe State has mobilized residents to register and exercise their civic rights. The awareness campaign, launched by Boniya, the Community Development Initiative, sensitizes residents of Boniya, the community in Jaba local government area, on the importance of obtaining the Permanent Voters Card (PVC). The group members walked nooks and crannies of the community, emphasizing that voters registration is not just a routine activity but a civic responsibility that will shape the future of governance in the state and the country. The chairman of the initiative, Comrade Abubakar Ali, who led the sensitization campaign, said the project is meant to ensure that over 3,000 people, including first-time votes, were registered. We are thrilled to share that the turnout and cooperation from the community were massive and encouraging. The campaign is not just about registration, it's about taking ownership of our future, our voices, and our right to shape the leadership that serves us. For details of this story, see Daily Trust newspaper with the headline Youth Mobilizes Yobe Residents for PVC.
And away from that to the Punch newspaper, where we have UK-Nigerian bilateral trade hits 16 trillion naira, says British envoy. Now to the story. The British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, has said Nigeria remains one of the countries that have benefited from the most from British assist from the European Union, widely known as Brexit. Montgomery said this in an interview with news agency of Nigerian on Wednesday in Abuja. He explained that the UK-Nigerian trade and investment ties are now being shaped under post-Brexit rules designed to deepen cooperation and deliver mutual economic benefit. According to him, Brexit has opened door for more Nigerians to live and work and study in UK, with Nigerian diaspora in the country going from an estimate 300,000 in 2021 to 550,000 in 2025. He said, and I quote, in relation to the Nigerian-UK relationship, Nigeria has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of Brexit in terms of our visa regime, which has allowed more Nigerians to come and live, work and study in the UK. For more information on this story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline UK-Nigerian bilateral trade hits 16 trillion naira, says British envoy.
And still taking our stories from the Punch newspaper, I have with me 8 million Nigerians out of darkness, says REA. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Aliyu, says the agency has already provided electricity access to about 8 million Nigerians under the Nigeria Electrification Project, with millions more set to benefit in the year coming. Out of the 90 million people said to be without electricity supply, Aliyu said 8 million have been removed as they now have access to stable power supply. This is said were made possible by the effort of the federal government to close the energy deficit gap. In an interview with our correspondent, Aliyu declared that the REA had not only met its targets but exceeded them. According to him, the government is making efforts to ensure that 17.5 million Nigerians are out of the energy poverty in the next 3 years. There are reports that many Nigerians do not have access to electricity, but under the Nigerian Electrification Project, we have provided electricity for 18 million Nigerians. We also have a program that targets 17.5 million people. So in 3 years, 17.5 million people will be out of darkness, Aliyu assured. Nigerians have struggled with poor power supply for years. There are reports that about 90 million people, especially those in rural communities, have no access to electricity. For details of the story, see the Punch newspaper with the headline 8 million Nigerians are out of darkness, says the Rural Electrification Agency.
Away from the Punch newspaper, moving to the Daily Post newspaper, where I have massive tsunami awaits those trying to remove Tinubu, says Fani Kayode warns Atiku, El-Rufai, Obi orders. Now to the story. Former Aviation Minister Femi Fani-Kayode has warned those trying to remove President Bola Tinubu in 2027. Fani-Kayode warns that a massive tsunami awaits them in 2027. Posting on Facebook, the former minister assured the president that his Renewed Hope agenda will reach its full manifestation by 2031. This comes as the likes of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Nasser El-Rufai, Peter Obi, and Rotimi Amechi vow to remove from office in 2027. However, Fani-Kayode wrote, and I quote, "The Bible says, surely they shall gather, but it shall not be of me. It says, whomever gathered against thee shall be scattered for their sake." He said further, a massive tsunami awaits those that seek to remove Bola Tinubu from office in 2027. They will be blown away by the east wind of destruction, and their lofty dream and vain ambition shall melt away like an iceberg approaching the topic. He said further, and I quote, "The sword of the Lord shall cut them down, and the Lord of the hosts shall dash them to pieces. Nothing can stop the wind of reformation and change that is blowing through our great country." For more information on this story, check the Daily Post newspaper with the headline "Massive Tsunami Awaits Those Trying to Remove Tinubu," says Fani Kayode warns Atiku, El-Rufai, Obi orders.
And still reading from the Punch newspaper, where I have Lagos probes video of students smoking in hostel. Now the details. The Lagos state government says it has commenced an investigation into the video circulating on social media showing some teenagers smoking in an hostel. The government said the group of secondary school were engaging in act of smoking and consumption of alcohol within what appears as a dormitory setting. In a video seen by our correspondent, the teenagers were seen passing what looks like a cigarette to one another as they smoke the contents. The Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Jamiu Ali Balogun, said in a Wednesday statement that the state government view this incident as with utmost seriousness, as it goes against the core value and behavioral standard expected within the educational system of Lagos. We wish to inform the public that the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, via the relevant agency, Office of Education Quality Assurance, is fully aware of the content of the video and has commenced a thorough investigation into the matter. Our monitoring and investigation team has been dispatched to verify the authenticity of the video, confirming the identity of those involved and determine the level of institutional oversight. Preliminary engagements have also begun with the school authority to gather all relevant facts, and any school found culpable will face appropriate sanctions in line with the Lagos State Education Policy and Regulations, the Commissioner stated. For details, see the Punch newspaper with the headline "Lagos probes video of students smoking in hostel."
And if you're just joining, you are on to In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 102.7 FM. You can connect by showing your perspective on the topic read so far on 081 Moving on with the story coming from the Punch newspaper, we have thousands protest in London over Trump UK visits. Now to the detail of the story. Armed with signs shouting slogans, thousands of anti-Donald Trump protesters descended on central London on Wednesday to decree the United States president's unprecedented second state visit to the United Kingdom. London Metropolitan Police estimated that there were around 5,000 people at the protest ground, which culminates in a rally in front of the Parliament, with Trump receiving the red carpet treatment at Windsor Castle, around 22 miles (35 kilometers) west of London. Demonstrators marched in the heart of the British capital to display their disdain on the first full day of the trip. The information said, and I quote, "We are protesting, and I suppose those about everything about Donald Trump. You don't know what placard to carry. Really, there are so many things to dislike." Former teachers Dave Lockett, 67, told AFP. Another person also said, "He's showing destruction and disorder through the world, the whole earth. If Trump idea gets into this society, then what are we talking about in fascism in Britain?" he added. Left-wing lawmakers, including New Green Party leader Zach Polanski, were among those to address the crowd in Parliament Square at the rally hosted by well-known comedian Nish Kumar. For more information on this story, check the Punch newspaper with the headline "Thousands Protests in London over Trump UK Visits."
And to end today's story from Daily Post, I have with me infidelity allegation. Soludo rejects Equinife apology. Now the details. Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo of Anambra State and his wife Dr. Noye Soludo has dismissed another fabrication. The apology reported credited to Senator Uche Equinife over a defamatory remark against them. Daily Post reported that Equinife, deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in the forthcoming Anambra gubernatorial election, has accused Soludo's wife of infidelity. In a strongly worded statement issued on Wednesday and signed by the senior special assistant on new media, Mazi Ejimofo Okpara, the governor said the apology did not emanate from the lawmaker and therefore lacked credibility. The statement titled Senator Equinife's purported apology, another fabrication fit for the waste bin, argued that the unsigned apology said to have come from the Equinife's campaign organization was suspicious, misleading and inadequate. According to Opara, there is no such campaign body since Equinife's gubernatorial ticket was joined one with the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC) in Anambra State. For details of the story, see Daily Post newspaper with the headline Infidelity Allegation, Soludo rejects Equinife's apology.
And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of In the Papers, the newspaper review program on iPower 2.7 FM. But before we go, let's recap the headline read so far for today's edition. Firstly, we started from the Open newspaper, where we brought to you that probe superb job racketeering, ex-Ondo lawmaker urges assembly. Also, we move further to the Open newspaper as well, that 10 university students and global recognition.
And also, we told you from the Hope newspaper that Supreme Court affirms Ayedatiwa as Ondo governor. We also told you that INEC warns Nigerians against fake recruitment.
We brought to you from the Daily Post newspaper that over 650 kidney worth $41 billion trafficked in Nigerian says medical experts. We move further to the Punch newspaper where we told you that NECO probes mass cheating in 13 states.
And still talking NECO, we told you that NECO releases 2025 SSC results, record 60 pass rate. Equally, we informed you from the Punch newspaper that emergency rule winners, losers as Tinubu reinstate Fubara.
Still talking about the river emergency rule, we brought to you from the Daily Post newspaper that Atiku Adeyanju orders tackle Tinubu Wike after Fubara reinstatement. Then we move further to the Punch newspaper,
yes,
where we brought to you that cash transfer federal government pays 330 billion to 88.1 million households.
Yeah, lastly, from the Punch newspaper, where we have federal government returns history to Florence Ibarema, and
I'm ABDULRASAQ Alawa. Many thanks for joining us on our live YouTube, Facebook, and our TikTok. Until next time, when we see you for another edition of In the Papers, do have a pleasant day and good morning.